Barbie Girl to Team 2.
This is Jenga Jam. I'm trying something a little different right now. I'm going to try to do some commentary over the Clumian trivia game I ran a couple days ago. It was on April 1st. Today's April 3rd. I'm doing this because if you try to actually watch the Twitch VODs of it, it can be kind of painful to listen to because you're hearing everybody who's trying to talk on both teams and me all at once. So hopefully this will be a little bit more digestible and potentially be something that people actually want to watch. So first half categories we have are common knowledge, common knowledge, common knowledge, and con man knowledge. A little bit of a theme for the first half categories. Today's teams are Mana, Blue Stockings Darkus, Princess Butterball, Rev Quinn, and Rosapopoulos versus Ace, Kamikaze Maniac, Toshinden, Barbie Girl, and Demon Toaster. Normally I do more like three teams. This is enough people for 3 teams, but a lot of people got here kind of late, so wasn't sure if I'd have enough people for 3 teams. I'll be trying to keep up with what both teams are saying, both in voice and in their Discord channel, and I'll keep you updated on their scores and answers. First question is of the common babbler, common bream, common broom, common boa, and common bulbul. Oh, the common barbel is most closely related to this. So I'm seeing that Team 2 in their text discussion, Ace is saying identifying a boa as a snake and a babbler as a robin. And Kamikaze Maniac is saying a barbel is maybe a fish. Toshinden agrees that it's a fish from Animal Crossing. So they look to be okay with going with common bream pre-hint. Team 1 not working, doesn't seem to be as sure about this. I'll keep an ear on them. Some people got here like this is where Mana shows up, and I add him to Team 1. I think at this point in the show, Darkus also hasn't appeared. I ended up flipping a coin to decide his team because the teams were even at that point. Yes, Team 1 still expressing, or sorry, Team 2 still expressing some hesitance to go for it, but that they do end up going for it on this question. But Team 1 does not. Team 1 actually ends up deciding to wait. So they're going to go for the 2 points rather than go for the 4 points and risk losing a point. The hints: a barbel is a fish, a bulbul is a bird. So if you know this, if you know what a bream is, but not a barbel is, then that'll help. And I am hearing someone from Team 1 say just that they're pretty sure that a bream is a fish. So they're likely to get this one after the hint. So the score would be 2-4 after one question if they stick with that. So Team 2 remains comfortable with their answer of common bream. And Team 1 decides to go with common bream as well. These are both correct. So the score is 2-4. Number 2 in this category is representing the electoral district of Regina, Wisconsin. Ralph Goodale was the only member of the Liberal Party elected to the Canadian House of Commons in this province in 2015. I'm wondering if it's Saskatchewan or Manitoba. I'm hearing somebody speculating about that. We do have a Canadian on team 2, so that might help. Team 1 seems to be strongly considering Saskatchewan. And so does Team 2, actually. They both seem to be leaning towards Saskatchewan. It looks to be that both teams are going to go with Saskatchewan before the hand. So for the hint, I give this map showing where that province is. Doesn't scare anybody away from sticking with Saskatchewan. Yeah, they're saying they're sure that Manitoba's the one to the right and Alberta's to the left, so they're pretty sure they got it. And indeed they do. Both teams have gotten this one right. Full credit. One thing I might try if I do this again is get maybe a representative of each team to join me and sort of explain what their team was going through at this time. But for now, it's just going to be me. All right, third question in common knowledge. At the 87th Academy Awards, Common and John Legend won the award for Best Original Song for Glory, the theme song to this film. All right, Team 1's got it immediately. Team 1 says Selma. Team 2. Team 2, thinking about who Common might have been around, what movies Common might be contemporaneous with. Uh, Creed is a title that's been suggested. Team one seems to know their movies. They went with Selma immediately on this one. Team two is discussing now whether they think the 87th awards are a recent one or a not so recent one. But but one of them seems to say that Common's relatively recent, so they believe that the movie to be relatively recent. There's a little bit of a disagreement about when Common got his first became well known. One person saying it's significantly earlier than the other person is, but they team two has ended up going with Creed. The hint is a city and a Simpsons character. I mean, it's technically true, but they're not. It's not one of the first cities you would think of in a list of cities, or the first Simpsons characters you would think of in a list of Simpsons characters. I don't know how useful a hint that's going to be. Team one is going to remain confident in Selma. And team two is brainstorming Simpsons characters, but I haven't heard anything matching that yet, so they end up sticking with Creed. So Selma, being the right answer, puts team one in the lead. Number four, as the first name of 6 U.S. presidents, it's the most common presidential first name. Let's see, team one thinking about John right now. Seeing how many Johns they can name. All right, team two is considering McKinley right now, seeing how many of those. Or sorry, not McKinley. Considering William McKinley being one of the Williams they mentioned. They're considering how many Williams they can think of. Now Mana is also throwing James into the list of possibilities for team ones as well as William. Yeah, Mana was able to name 3 Johns, 3 James, and 3 Williams in chat. Seems like those are the only those 3 are the only things being considered by either team. It looks like we're running low on time though. And team one has decided to go with John, and team two with William. So team one has finalized their decision of John. Team two has gone with William. So team one gets, in some ways, unlucky here, and in some ways, lucky here because I've told them that it's not John. But for all team two knows, they might still be right. No, it seems both teams are thinking about William versus James. They're having a tough time. They're both having, well, team one is having a tough time deciding between James and William. They went with James. The answer is James, while team two stuck with William because they're taking more points from it. So that's another 1 point for team one. Next category is common knowledge. First one, the title of this Lynn Truss bestseller is a reference to a joke involving a panda and incorrect comma placement. Like, yep, team one. Someone on team one has gotten it. Blue Stockings appears to know it. And on team two, Demon Toaster has just said the answer. Eats, shoots, and leaves. This is the sort of one where if you once you think of it, you know it's it. Now this one, I think I end up declaring that both teams have it, just to save time because I know there's a member of Team Two who may have to leave early. So whenever there's a quick social like that, I just say so. So both teams do have this right, so I'll just give them their points now. 15 and 12. It is indeed eats, shoots, and leaves. Might not have decided to call it yet, but okay. So I do that on a future question, but maybe not this one. This one I let the timer go down. But both teams are sticking with eat, shoots, and leaves. Both teams are right. They're mostly talking about the last question, thinking of maybe James presidents. They might have missed. Someone just mentioned Monroe. So I've just informed both teams that they are right. Now we have run silent and this two-word phrase are separated by a comma in the title of a 1958 film starring Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster. Just to complete the film title category, or not a category, just a question. Someone suggesting run swiftly. Someone just suggested run deep. Seems like both teams are not that confident about this one. And they're still thinking about James as one of them just thought of Garfield. I show the hint here, it's RD. So one of the teams that suggested run, there was a team that suggested run deep, so they're probably going to go with that now. And indeed they do. Someone just threw out Red Dragon on team one. Robert Downey. Box drop. Red dress. Okay, I didn't hear it in team one's discussion, but they did end up settling on run deep, which is sorry. These are both post hint, not pre hints. So both teams will get 2 points for waiting. The part of speech that always follows an Oxford comma is the third in the category. Oxford comma, I believe, came up in an earlier trivia I ran. I hear somebody on team one singing the Conjunction Junction song. Both teams did get this one pretty quickly. So this one I did sort of skip ahead on. They both said conjunction correctly. So remains a 3-point lead. Amartol wrote in A Gentleman in This City, here indeed was a formidable sentence, one that was on intimate terms with a comma, and that held the period in healthy disregard. So for this one, I'm just asking you to complete the book title. A Gentleman in Some City. One team wondering whether the city necessarily has a comma in it. It doesn't necessarily. It's just a quote involving a comma, which makes it part of the category. Demon Toaster saying, for some reason, I want to say Moscow. I heard Paris suggested by another member of Team 1. They're asking whether Gentleman in Moscow rings a bell to anyone else, and I don't think anybody else has heard of that. They're thinking of Italian cities now. Venice. Even Toaster saying he's 35 to 40% confident in Moscow. So they're thinking about whether to go with Moscow or wait, and Team 1 is thinking about whether to go with Paris or wait. I think that what we end up seeing is Team 1 goes with Paris, and Team 2 does go with Moscow. They waffle a lot about whether to go for it, but they did end up going for it. Hint is citypopulation.de lists it as Europe's largest urban agglomeration. So this hint says basically it's a really big city. It's not an obscure one. And maybe if you're familiar with these exact statistics, you can get it from that. Oh, and this is when Darkest joins, so I flip a coin to add him to Team 1. A lot of teams, Team 2 now discussing whether the .de necessarily means anything, whether that would suggest it's in Germany. And the answer is indeed Moscow. Both teams have decided to stick with their answers. So Team 2 pulls into the lead. But my coin actually landed in a crack in the floorboard, so it did sort of land on its side in a sense, so I had to do it again. So in common knowledge, all answers will have the letters C, A, M, A in that order consecutively. Number 1, a CNN travel article once described this as the driest and, it's been argued, oldest desert in the world. Okay. 2 members of Team 2 have just said they believe it to be the Atacama. Some of these are answered fast, so if you want to play along, I suggest pausing the video when a question comes up if you don't want to hear some potential answers. But Team 2, pretty confident that it's Atacama. Let's see what Team 1 comes up with. Suggesting it might be in Africa. Now they're getting into the definition of desert, whether it could be something non-traditional, like a polar one. But they still got to think of one that has those letters in it. If you haven't heard of this one, then one's going to be kind of rough. The team one does not come up with anything, and they decide to wait for the hint. For the hint, I reveal that it's in Chile. Maybe that'll jog somebody's memory. Team one now just throwing out vowel sounds to add before comma, which which is actually a good idea because I didn't say commas at the end. It could have been at the beginning or something. Akama, ekama, ukama, okama, ikama. Sadly, there's another syllable. So team two remains confident in Atacama. And team one decides just that they didn't find anything worth going for, so they just say nada. But Atacama is correct. Sorry, not 25. 20. What was it before? 26. 26. Not 226, just 26. Atacama is correct. Next in common knowledge. In 1966, when journalists asked what this word meant, the official response they received was a small, vicious animal that eats mustangs. Okay, somebody on team one just said they think it's a Camaro, and his teammates seem to agree. There's some discussion about how to spell it. Team two not coming up with anything yet. Okay, Tushinden now saying, I think it's a car model, but he can't think of a common one yet. They're discussing whether this might be an animal or a car. Oh, but Team 1 has settled on Camaro. Now, Kamikaze Maniac suggests Camaro, and Toshinden says he definitely agrees that it's Camaro. There is some discussion about how to spell it, but both teams have settled on Camaro. The answer is they were told this by a Chevrolet project managers, but they were told this by Chevrolet product managers. Sorry. Anyway, both teams are, I think, pretty happy to hear it. It means they can be pretty confident in their answers. So both teams are correct. It is the Camaro. Next, we want the surname of Newt, the protagonist of Fantastic Beasts, and where to find them. Oh, I heard a Scamander from someone on Team 1. Some people are saying they thought it was Scarmander, but since Scarmander would not fit in the category, it must be Scamander. Uh, and they are both right about that. So this one I sort of let them know that early. Move on to the next question. I believe I do end up doing that pretty soon. So the hint was it begins with an S, but nobody did it, so let's move on. Fries made from this vegetable are a low-carb alternative to French fries. This one also ended up being a quick social. Both teams got hit without much difficulty. So I'm informing people that I'm just going to skip ahead because they both got it quick. Now we have conman knowledge. Number one, clients who invested with Bernie Madoff through this largest Spanish bank may have lost over $2 billion. So they're thinking of bank names that might sound Spanish. Someone suggested Columbus. National Bank of Spain. I'm not so sure why, but somebody said Nicolas Cage Bank. Did I skip a? Hang on, I think I made a mistake adding up the scores. I'm gonna pause just a second. I do agree that the scores should be off by 5, but this looks higher than what I wrote here. Let's see if there's more of those. Oh no, this is correct. Never mind.
US banks, and I don't know if they
Team 1 saying they're leaning toward waiting on this one. Someone on Team 2 says they think they're going to kick themselves once they hear the answer, but can't think of it. All right, both teams seem to have run out of time, so they have decided to wait. Let's see, is this logo over here? All right, Team 1 appears to have identified that as the logo of Santander. They're discussing the pronunciation now, whether it's like Santander or Santander or whatever. Team 2. Let's see what Team 2 says. Team 2's not getting it yet. Right, they think that it might be Santander. That name has been thrown out there, and sounds like they're saying they can't really think of anything better. They do go with Santander, which is correct, so both teams get 2 points. It was the nickname of two famous American con men. David Lamar, born in 1877, and Jordan Belfort in 1962. Both teams are now considering whether they might both be named the Wolf of Wall Street, wondering how long Wall Street has actually been around, though. Now, both teams have discussed just saying wolf to be less specific, so I said that they should be more specific. So team 2 agrees to be more specific and say Wolf of Wall Street. Team 1 now just discussing whether or not they want to do that as well. And that is what they go with. Both teams did get this right. It's the Wolf of Wall Street. This father of the American cartoon lost most of his fortune in 1884 after the collapse of Ferdinand Ward's pyramid scheme. I'm saying I kind of admit is only a little bit tangentially related to conmen. It's more knowing who would be considered the father of the American cartoon, who would have been alive at that time. Right now they're thinking of what would even be a famous cartoon from back then.
Well, like, no, they'd be like the little editorial ones, like the one
Someone suggesting that 1884 is late in life for this person due to them having a fortune to lose at that point. Team 2 naming a bunch of famous cartoonists that they think it can't be because it's just before their time, like Schultz and Disney. They're wondering about what cartoons this person could be responsible for, but they're not coming up with a name, so they both wait. The hint is that the guy's first name was Thomas. See if that helps. Team 2 saying they don't think it's going to help. Somebody just makes up the name O'Keefe. Team 2 now just thinking about just writing Thomas the Tank Engine as a joke. And actually they do. And Team 1, they're discussing it a little bit more. They throw Jefferson up there just to have something written down. But the answer is Thomas Nast. He's the guy who's known as the father of the American cartoon. So nobody scores for that one. And then last in the half, we have con artist and FBI informant Mel Weinberg was involved in this FBI sting operation that resulted in the convictions of several congressmen. Someone throwing Watergate out there, thinking whether it might be related to Watergate. But someone on Team One just mentioned American Hustle. They think this movie might be that movie might be about it, but they don't know the name of the operation. Team Two talking about whether it could be a sexual misconduct case. Team One thinking it might be pretty early in the last century, because otherwise they might have heard of it. Someone suggesting Operation Pants Down, mostly as a joke, I assume. Right, neither team appears to have decided to go for it. They both see if they can get the 2 points after the hint. Hint is that it involved a fictitious company called Abdul Enterprises. Team One definitely agrees that this is the plot of American Hustle, but we have to see whether or not that'll actually give them the answer. Team Two now suggesting basing their guess on names of Paula Abdul songs, because that would be kind of funny if they named their enterprises after the operation. Yeah, so they do end up going with a Paula Abdul title. They end up going with Straight Up, and Team One ends up going with American Hustle, because they know that movie's about it. The answer, however, is Abscam, AB being the first two letters, followed by scam. So that's where the name came from Abdul Enterprises. So no team scores from that. I informed the teams that Team Two has a 5-point lead. Normally, teams are not made aware of the other team's score until halftime. But I've been keeping track here for any viewers who might be watching this. Second half categories: jokes about the Kennedy assassination. Whoops. Let's look at those again. Just born in 19X4, Olympic team sports, and game name origins. This one, I show them a comedian, ask them to name that comedian. I've turned off the audio here because who knows DMCA stuff. So, but maybe you can figure it out from just seeing him. He's talking about how there's a museum in Dallas that's called the Assassination Museum, which he assumes was named after the assassination, but can't be sure. Now there's a recreation of the window in the book repository that he says is accurate because Oswald's not there. So this is about me identifying this comedian. Two, naming some comedians they can think of. Tushendon saying he hopes it's not a legend from before his time, like Lenny Bruce or Bill Hicks. Team one saying they think they're going to have to wait. Now both teams are talking about what time they think this clip is from, like late 80s, early 90s being suggested just based on the video quality. But both teams sound like they're leaning toward waiting. That is indeed what they do. So I make this multiple choice for the hint. I give them Bill Hicks, Jimmy Carr, Robert Klein, or Stephen Wright. Someone on team one saying they can rule out Stephen Wright. Someone on team two says they can rule out Carr. Team two now suggesting going with Bill Hicks just because it was suggested before the hint, just to make Tushendon feel bad about not going for it before the hint. I believe someone on team one just said they're 70% on Bill Hicks, actually. So it looks like both teams are going with Bill Hicks. And that is correct. So both teams receive 2 points. So now this one is the tweet that kind of gave me the idea for this category. I asked, the tweet pictured below parodies the lyrics to this song, and it says, "Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get shot from a grassy knoll. I'm JFK." And now both teams are just sort of going through the lyrics of that song to figure out what the title might be. Someone on team two saying they don't know the name of the song, but they know the lyrics. Someone on team one talking about somebody doing this song on American Idol very badly. But both teams do seem to agree it's probably Drift Away, which actually is correct. So I go ahead and call this one and give them their points immediately. On the next slide, there's a part of a video from this website that was once owned by The Onion. It's called "These People Were There When Kennedy Was Shot, and Their Stories Are Incredible." Unfortunately, I'm not going to let people viewing this video see hear the audio, but it is a pretty funny video. So there for this one, there's a logo in the top right that might give you some hint. Talking about measures they took to prevent further presidential assassination, like a decoy head for Nixon. Now this guy is throwing some suspicion on a gorilla that was there that day, who hasn't been seen since. Nobody knows who he was. Team 2 now talking about college humor, potentially. But they end up deciding to wait. Now, Team 1 suggesting clickhole. Now, what I wrote down is that they did end up going with that. Although what I'm seeing here says something different, but I'm gonna go with one of these sources because that's how I officially scored them. So Team 1, I'm gonna say did go with clickhole. Hint is click. So Team 1, pretty happy with going with clickhole at this point. Now, Team 2's talking about puns you can make using the word click. Maybe something to do with clickbait. Looking at the logo, thinking that it belonged to the Onion, and I guess it's kind of similar, possibly because it was once owned by the Onion. So Team 1 sticking with clickhole. And Team 2 just going with clickbait because that's got the word click in it. The clickhole is correct. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong cell on my spreadsheet. Actually, Team 1 did decide to wait on this one, but then got it right after the hint. I'm looking at the Team 1. When I was thinking they got 4 points on this one. I was looking at the first half when I should have been looking at the second half. So there's another sketch about the Kennedy assassination. It's by a certain comedy troupe that I've asked the teams to identify. Again, I'm not going to give viewers of this video the audio, but you can see it was on IFC. Uh, Johnson's being kind of critical of how Oswald's doing things. He's not having it. No, he's starting a musical number. Team 2 has identified this group. They are saying whitest kids you know. Team 1 not getting it yet. Team 1 deciding not to go for it. They're not coming up with it. It is WKUK, and from that, actually, someone on Team 1 has identified that is an acronym for Whitest Kids You Know. They are both right about it. Team 1 gets 2 points, while Team 2 gets 4. Are we going to be starting the next category soon? Their more famous presidential assassination sketch is the Lincoln one, but that one has too many swears for me to actually use in this. Right, next category is born in 19X4. The X just stands for some digit. I'm asking the teams to guess what decade essentially that this person was born in, starting with NBA star Bill Russell. And every hint in the category will be the name of another famous person who was born in that same year. Darkest knows sports well, so he's taken over the discussion on this one. I think leaning toward 24 right now. Saying he won the championships in the late 60s. So after doing the math, he thinks he's leaning toward 34 now. He's saying it couldn't be 44. That would be too young to start. Team 2 is considering 40s. Someone's saying they're on board with 40s. Okay, Okay, they're pretty sure. Team 1 pretty sure it's saying they're pretty sure it's 3. Team 2 still discussing. Right, so Demon Toaster just said I think it would be 3 actually, because he's still alive. So what are they gonna do with this one? They are gonna go with 3 actually. So Frankie Valli was also born in the same year. Some people have to figure out who that is. Some people are just explaining that. I think both teams are going to stick with their answer just because they stand to gain 4 points for if they stick with it, and only 1 point if they change it. I don't think this is going to change anyone's opinion that much. Both teams are sticking with the 30s. Both teams are right. Next one, American actress Lauren Bacall. Someone suggesting she's like 70. Team 1 discussing whether she's still alive or not. Team 1 now bringing up Humphrey Bogart as a contemporary, possibly. Team 2 thinking it's a decision between 1914 and 1924. Team 2 kind of comparing her to Elizabeth Taylor. Team 1 saying she acted mostly in the 40s and 50s, which means they think should maybe be 24. Team 3 saying they don't think it's going to be 34 just because they don't think it's going to be repeated, which I won't actually rule out, but they did end up being correct about this. Both teams have gone with the 20s, and the hint is that Jimmy Carter was also born in the same year. Some people talking about how old Jimmy Carter is, think he's maybe in his 90s, which would also point to two being the answer. So I think both teams are sticking with two. Someone's saying he could be 14, but likes 24 more, especially because that's worth 4 points versus one. And they are correct to stick with that. The answer is 1924. Next one, Hank Azaria. What year was Hank Azaria born in? 19 blank 4. Okay, Barbie Girl saying that he was in season 1 of Friends, so maybe trying to calculate it based on that. Dark is saying it's probably 54 or 64. Barbie Girl saying that he was playing a love interest of Phoebe, so maybe around the same age as that actress. Someone on Team One saying they think it's that this person is younger than their mother. And Team Two discussing how they don't think it could be 74 because that would be too young to be Homer during the early years of The Simpsons. Seems like both teams are leaning towards 64 at this point. Haven't finalized it yet. I'm hearing a let's go with 64 from Team One. Team Two look like they're also going with 6. Hint is Marissa Tomei was also born in the same year. Okay, Team One saying no, there's no way this isn't 64. And Team Two also sticking to their guns. Yeah, both teams are sticking with 6. That is correct. They were both born in 1964. Last one's Chinese politician Deng Xiaoping. Neither team. Yeah, someone on Team One saying there's no way we're getting this. Team Two throwing out the 50s. Team One now is discussing the possibility that he could be very young, but haven't really heard of him. Team Two saying 2, 3, and 6 are eliminated, which they aren't, but it does happen to not be any of those. Team Team One saying that they expect he'd probably be in his 30s or 40s when he was active as a politician. Team One discussing that maybe he has some record for being the youngest Chinese politician to do something. Or he could just be dead and it could be 1904. Team One appears to want to go with the hypothesis that he's alive. And they go with 8. And Team Two just doesn't go for it. Pablo Neruda was born in the same year. Team Cinnamon Toaster saying he thinks Naruto was early. Team 1 also seems to agree that that means that this person was old and they're not going to stick with their answer of 8. They both are thinking they're pretty old, like 0 or 1. All right, Team 1 going with 1, or 1914, I could say. And Team 2 going with 1904. 1904 is the correct answer. Both sort of agreeing that means that he's old, but exactly how old ended up mattering. Next category is game name origins. The classic 1993 shooter Doom got its name from a quote from Tom Cruise's character in this film in reference to his pool cue. Someone on Team 1 just said just threw out the color of money as a possibility. Team 1 now talking about the hustler. Darkus now just saying he liked the hustler, that he thinks it's a good old movie despite not watching that many old movies. But they do seem to agree that it is the color of money. Team 2 discussing risky business as a possibility. Suggesting other Tom Cruise movies. I'm seeing Outsiders, Top Gun, Vanilla Sky, Jerry Maguire, but he says he's pretty sure it's not any of those. Looks like they're going to go with risky business. For the hint, I reveal that it's the sequel to The Hustler. So Team 1 even correctly predicted what the hint would be. They were thinking it was going to be that the hint says it's the sequel to The Hustler. So they're happy about that. No bonus points for it, though. Team 2 throwing out The Hustler 2, Electric Boogaloo. Team 2 saying they don't really have anything else, so they'll just stick with risky business. But Team 1 is correct. It is the color of money. So it's now a one-question game officially. According to one story about this 1980s game, Shigeru Minamoto decided on the title of the on the title character's name after consulting a Japanese English dictionary for his word meaning stubborn. Someone on yeah someone on Team 1 mentioning donkey as a potential word meaning stubborn. I believe I also just heard that from Team 2. Someone on Team 1 saying it's for sure Donkey Kong, and so does Team 2. It is. They do both agree that it's Donkey Kong. So I just give it to him now. I show him that the hint is about Jumpman, but I skip ahead to the next one now. The GameCube RPG Baten Kaitos gets its name from a star in the center of this constellation. Baten Kaitos means sea monster's belly in Arabic. Right, Dark is saying that he's played this game, but he's not sure if that's going to help. Team 2 also appears to have someone who's familiar with this game. It's constellations figure it into it pretty heavily, and so do whales. Team 2 throwing out Draco, maybe. Now Team 1's talking about the whale in Pinocchio being potentially called Monstro. Now they're just thinking of a bunch of constellations that they can name. Orion, Big Dipper. Looking through the zodiac in particular. Team 2 asking if they should go with Draco. Another person suggesting waiting. Team 1's definitely agreeing that they should wait for to do the hint now. And Team 2, I think Team 2 has decided to just throw Draco out there. Now somebody on 2 says his gut tells him Delphinus. The hint is 5 letters and often interpreted as a whale. Well, Draco is 5 letters, so I guess Team 2 might as well stick with that. Also throwing out Aries, Pisces. Looks like Team 2 is going to stick with Draco. Team 1 going through 5-letter zodiac signs. Libra has been thrown out. Virgo has been thrown out. Team 1 appears to have decided on Virgo. The answer, on the other hand, is actually Cetus, Cetus, so nobody scores for this one. Last in the category, the title of this PlayStation 2 game comes from a Japanese phrase meaning clump spirit or clump of souls. And you can see the title there. Someone in Team 1 immediately starts singing the Katamari Damacy theme song. And most of the people from Team 2 came here from video game trivia, so they're going to get this one too. It's Katamari Damacy. So I just tell them that immediately. Quick social. And here are my other suggestions as part of a multiple choice thing. It is Katamari Damacy. Both teams got that one pretty quick. Last category is Olympic team sports. All but one of India's 9 Olympic gold medals have come in this sport. Team 1 wondering if Olympic cricket is a thing. Team 2 has also suggested cricket. Also handball and lacrosse. Team 1 suggesting highlight. Team 1's now further considering highlight. Team 2 still wondering if cricket is an Olympic sport. Oh, that was Team 1, sorry. Team 1 now wondering if it could be some sort of shooting projectile sport. Hint is a sport that as a goalkeeper who wears a special helmet. Team 1 has decided to wait, while Team 2 has decided to guess handball. So now Team 2 is wondering whether handball is indeed a sport that has a goalkeeper who wears a special helmet. Uh, Team 1 was talking about highlight before the hint, so they're continuing to talk about highlight. Someone on Team 1 talking about maybe field hockey. Uh, so Team 1 has gone with highlight, and Team 2 with handball, but the answer was indeed field hockey, so no scores for this one. Field hockey was the answer to this. In 2012, the U.S. women's soccer team won the gold medal match against this country, avenging their World Cup defeat the previous heat. Someone on Team 1 thinking it might be Japan, trying to remember when the Fukushima disaster was. They maybe associate it in their minds with that. I think it might have been 2010. Team 2 sounds like they're leaning toward waiting. let's see. They can name Swedes, Czechs, Russians. Oh wait, that's actually sorry, that's not for this question. My mistake. Team one sounds like Team one thinks Japan is worth risking it for. They're considering waiting, but they're going with Japan. It looks like. Team two now discussing Japan as a possibility. See, team two thinking about Japan, but looks like they're going to wait. And it's just that it's not in Europe, so I imagine team two will probably go with Japan now. And I don't see any reason why team one would change. Oh. Yeah, so team one sticking with Japan. Team two. Team two looks like they're also going to go with Japan. That is correct, so that'll narrow the gap a little. One-point deficit now. Now we have this Finnish Flash won the MVP award in 2014 in the 2014 men's ice hockey tournament, scoring twice in the bronze medal game. Yeah, I don't really know hockey very well, but just based on this guy's Wikipedia bio, it seemed like he was noticeable enough that sorry, not noticeable, notable enough that someone who knows hockey would probably know him. We do have a Canadian on team two, so maybe that'll help. Yeah, that was what the comment I can name Swedes, Czechs, Russians, and Canadians was for. But Toshinden, not thinking of any Finnish names yet. Uh, Darkus is the sports guy on team one, but he's not coming up with anything, so they're gonna wait. Trying to think of Finnish names now. Someone on team one wondering where the name Skarsgård comes from, whether that might be Finland or Norway. Team one, two not coming up with it yet. Decide to wait. So team one, having discussed the name Skarsgård, is now further considering Skarsgård as their guess. The initials RTS. Now, team two, Toshinden now thinking it might be Timu Solani. And they're just gonna. Looks like they're just gonna go with that because I mean he's the only one there who knows any hockey, right? And team one guessing that the first name is Timmy. Skarsgård. The answer is actually Team Solani, so Team 2 gets another 2 points. I don't actually know the correct pronunciation. I think I said Salon to them, but Solani here because it sounds like Shishinden probably knows that one. So I've informed the teams that the game is on the line here because the deficit is less than 4 points. The question is, in 2016, this country won its first Olympic medal, gold in the men's rugby sevens tournament. If team 1 gets it and team 2 doesn't, they might win. Number 2, team 2 suggesting New Zealand, but they probably won medals before then. Team 1 talking about Jamaica, maybe? Team 1 now also throwing New Zealand out there and also saying that it's probably not them due to earlier wins. Team 1 suggesting it might be a newer country. Wondering who plays. Now they're talking about who plays rugby, mentioning specifically New Zealand and Australia. Thinking about, in Darkus's words, islands down there. Team 2 saying that they should probably go for it because they know that the game does ride on this question. Now they're talking about whether rugby sevens is expensive or not to play, how expensive the equipment is. Team 1 has decided to wait, while Team 2 has decided to say New Zealand. Last hint is, according to recent sources, its population is around 900,000 and it's in the southern hemisphere. Number 1, Team 1 thinking about countries around New Zealand. Someone Team 1's now talking about New Zealand again, whether that could be the answer. Someone on Team 2 saying that they're pretty sure rugby is popular in Swaziland. Looks like Team 2 has decided to switch to Swaziland. And Team 1 picking another Oceanian country goes with Papua New Guinea. The answer, however, is Fiji, so no team scores, and Team 2 wins by 3 points. So, final score 80 to 77. If you're just stumbling across this video and are interested in trying to play this game, I'll try to remember to include a link to the Discord I organizes that in the video description. Maybe next time I do this, I'll try to get some people who played the game to commentate with me to get an idea of to get the team's perspectives on this. Hopefully, this should be more listenable than just having everyone speaking at once on the Twitch pod. That's why I'm making this video, and I'll probably post this in my Discord. See if anybody's interested in it, and if they are, maybe do this again next time. So, but that'll be all for today, and goodbye for now.